Hi everyone, I'm Cameron, and today we are talking all about The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Miss Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I have to say, like other book lovers, I know a good book when I see it, and I have to tell you, this one was amazing. I have not read anything as gripping, as enthralling as I have this book right here. You need a little backstory onto why I love this so much. I have not been able to finish reading a book in months, probably since the beginning of the year. I don't think I've finished a complete novel. This book I finished in less than a week. An entire book in less than a week. And now I know what you're thinking, that's not a hard task. I used to devour books and then I did not read a book for months. So this book single-handedly, Taylor Jenkins Reid single-handedly brought me out of my reading slump. So let's talk about it. This book, published in 2017, was an immediate success. Everyone loved it. Everyone loves Taylor Jenkins Reid. She is an author, like, I want to say like no other in this genre. So it's more of a contemporary fiction sort of piece of work. It's gotten rave reviews. If you go on its Goodreads page, it has a 4.5 out of 5-star rating. Now that is the highest rating I think I've ever read. If you go on Goodreads, this book has a 4.5 out of 5-star rating. Now I think that is the highest rating on a book I've ever read. So going through the reviews after I finished it, honestly, was such a fun little journey. It was so cool to see like other people that had the same thoughts as me, dating back to when it first came out in 2017. Dating back to when it first came out in 2017. If I had to describe The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo in one word, I think I would say mystical, because there are those fairy tale elements where you want to be Evelyn, but then there are those other moments where you see Evelyn withdraw and you see that sort of raw human emotion that I think you wouldn't get in a magical story, but you get it in a mystical one. You get it in a story that it has you, and it has you on the edge of your seat, and that's what makes it so mystical. However, there have been some interesting takes on The Seven Husbands. So let's kind of go through a short little summary of the book so we can really understand what's going on. So Evelyn Hugo is formerly known as Evelyn Herrera. She is from Hell's Kitchen in New York. She is a Cuban immigrant. Now, this is very interesting because on the cover we see a blonde woman named Evelyn Hugo. Now, she changes her name when she gets to Hollywood, and that is because there's bias in Hollywood, like we all know, especially in the time in which Evelyn is trying to make it big. Now, that was something I found really interesting. I never really thought about it, you know? When I think of old Hollywood, I don't think of... Now, that was something that was really interesting, because when I think of old Hollywood, I don't think of the potential of there being a Cuban woman leading all of these roles, hiding her Cuban identity. So even though it is fictional, I'm sure it happened to many actors out there, and I thought that it was a really interesting way to showcase that time, and honestly the time we live in today, because there still are countless people that do not sort of hold on to their full ethnic name. One example I want to pull up, just because I think it's really interesting, is Mindy Kaling, because her full last name is Chokalingam, but because she wanted to become a prolific writer like she has in Hollywood, she shortened her last name. So it definitely gave me that vibe, like it's... Evelyn isn't part of our time, but her time is still so very entwined in the way we live today and the way that we're going about our life today. Yeah, so Evelyn, this really fancy, prolific actress in the 50s, is living her life. Now we fast forward in time. Evelyn is an aging woman and she hires Monique to create her autobiography. Yeah, we fast forward and Evelyn has hired Monique, a young writer going through her own divorce at the time, to write her biography, kind of out of the blue. So it's definitely a story that showcases change over time. So Evelyn hires Monique. They're writing this biography, and through their writing, we follow Evelyn's world, Evelyn's life, Evelyn's legacy, if you will. She, like the title says, goes through 7 husbands, each of them for a different reason, each of them for a different purpose, all purposes serving Evelyn, which is a really interesting take. I haven't read a book or seen someone that has had 7 ex-husbands, so it was really interesting to see how she turned something like marriage, which is normally symbiotic between 2 people, and makes it completely self-serving. Every single marriage. And you might be thinking, why does she do that? Why doesn't she look for love? She has found her love in Celia St. James, a friend and a colleague that she has to hide her love with, which is a really sad fact of the time period of Evelyn's life, and looking back on her own history, a really sad fact. But that is Miss Evelyn Hugo. One thing I've seen a lot online is the talk about how it's a book without flaws, which I don't think you could say any book is a book without flaws. Any book is indicative of a perfect writer. That's not true. It felt like Taylor Jenkins Reid, Miss Jenkins Reid, while she is an amazing author, she makes a couple weird little slip-ups in the way she's portraying Celia and in some of the ways she portrays Evelyn. There are some strong homophobic undertones, and I know that they're meant to be like of the time, but they don't need to be so there, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's also the question of race-based morality. Evelyn is seen as so much better, so much more astounding, so much more talented, so much better as soon as she goes by Evelyn Hugo. They dye her hair blonde, and she renounces any sort of culture she once had. She loses her language. She doesn't even speak to the people that help her run her house, and I think that that's a really weird internalized racism that Reid gives Evelyn, and I think it's a weird sort of prerogative for her to have, you know, yes, it's understandable, but it doesn't need to be necessary in this story. And I think it really sort of shines a light, especially towards the end of the story. Now, this is very much a spoiler. If you don't want a spoiler, please skip ahead. But Evelyn reveals to Monique that she is the one that let her dad die. Now, Monique is a biracial woman. Her mother is white, her father is black, and her father died when she was 7 years old. Now, his death is so integral to understanding Monique as a character and Monique as a person that it feels out of nowhere that Evelyn reveals this to Monique. The story goes, Harry Cameron, a character in the book, and Monique's father are having an affair. Harry drives drunk into a tree, killing Monique's father, and Evelyn finds him. Evelyn pulls Harry from the driver's seat, places Monique's father in the driver's seat, and takes Harry to the hospital, leaving Monique's father behind. It is a gut punch to read that. You hurt not only for Monique, but you kind of hurt for Evelyn, which makes you feel bad inside. I have to say, it made me feel bad inside, and it's because of that sort of racially motivated undertone of this novel. Was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo an amazing story? Was it something that I found turning pages faster than I ever have? Yes. But do I think it's amazing as everyone else is saying? No. This book blew up on TikTok. It has blown up on the internet countless times since it has come out. You can see that even on my copy it says over 1 million copies sold. So you know it's a popular book. But we gotta make sure we're making books popular because of what they represent. You know what I mean? It's amazing writing. It's a really crazy story. But we gotta make sure that we're being careful in what we're choosing. I would say don't let TikTok influence you when it comes to buying your books. So now it is time for Cameron's rating of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The writing, a 10 out of 10. She gets that. Miss Taylor Jenkins Reid had me turning the pages so fast. I stayed up until 5 one night to finish it, so a 10 out of 10. No book can just get me to stay out till 5 to read a book. There's no way, you know? Story, that's where I'm gonna give it like a 7, because there are some moments where I really hate Evelyn. So, she doesn't deserve it.